What's up, everyone? I hope everyone is doing well out there. You know what? Today I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't retire here in the Philippines. You know, a lot of people put out videos, oh, why you should retire to good and this and that. You know what? I'm going to talk about the reasons why you shouldn't retire here in the Philippines. I'm just going to share some of the things I've observed, some of the things people have told me, why they came here, couldn't make it here, and left. Or they're still just stuck here and they're miserable. But I'm going to tell you why you should not retire in the Philippines. First one, why you shouldn't retire in the Philippines. You know what? Don't retire in the Philippines if you have not visited here or spent time here. What I mean by that is spending time here. A lot of people come over here to meet the girl of their dreams that they've met on the line. They spend 2 weeks here. They love it. You know, it's a whirlwind. You know, you're coming to the Philippines for the first time to meet the woman of your dreams. Everything is new to you. You're taking everything in. The culture, the people, the surroundings. You know, you're spending time with, you know, could be your future wife and her family. And you're going here and doing this and doing that. You're meeting a family, you're having parties, and everybody is friendly and everybody is treating you like a superstar. And then you go back to your country and you say, you know what? I love the Philippines. What happens is some guys in K1 visa their girlfriend back to the States or wherever and get married. And then they plan, you know, in a year or two, we're moving back to the Philippines. But they never really spent time here. They don't know what it's about. They never lived here. Then you have some that, you know, they go back to where they're from and they say, hey, all right, I'm packing everything up, I'm selling everything, I'm moving to the Philippines. And at first it is fun, it is great, everything's new to you, and then things just start wearing on people. Some people make it a year, some people make it 3 or 4 years. They say if you can make it here over 5 years, you pretty much are going to be here. Now, I'm not talking about those people that spent 6 months here and go back to their own country. I'm talking about the ones that for the first time they come here. So you know what? I've always said this, spend time here if you can. I've seen people come here, get in a bad situation. You know, things didn't work out. They might have been staying with their girlfriend and her family at the time, and it didn't pan out the way they thought it was going to pan out. It was different. You know, if you sell everything and you move here, now what? Are you stuck here? Are you going to go back to wherever you came from and try to start again? But guys, don't just retire here without visiting or without spending quality time here. Another thing, don't retire in the Philippines if you don't have a savings. You know, when you get here, you're going to need that money for whatever emergency might arise. What if you get sick and you got to go to the hospital? There's no credit here. There's no, all right, I'll make payments. They want payment when services are done. So if you have an emergency and you have if you don't have a savings, you could be in a world of trouble. Always have savings here. You never, ever, ever know what's going to happen. Some of these that I'm saying, they might be kind of silly sounding, but I've seen it drive expats crazy here. Crazy to the point where they're like, I'm done, I'm out of here, I can't handle it. A know-it-all. If you're a know-it-all, don't retire in the Philippines. If you're not willing to accept things here, whether it's locally or by the government here, don't move here. You know, right now we have this chimp problem. Here in the Philippines, you are wearing a mask. I have people leave comments, look at the sheep, look at all the sheep. They're following what the government tells them. Well, here, when you move here, you don't have a choice. It's not like where you're coming from where you might have a choice. I don't need a mask or whatever. But if you're a know-it-all and you're not going to abide by what the local government tells you, don't move here. They're saying wear a mask. I would be happy to take my mask down if the person that is calling us all sheeps pays my fines. If that person's willing to sit in jail for me, no problem. But here, this is not, this is the Philippines. This is its own government and its own world. If you're not willing to abide by the things that they ask you here, don't retire. Don't retire. Politics. If you're into politics, wrong place to retire and get into politics. They don't want you and they don't want foreigners involved in politics. They've said it. The president said, listen, we don't mind you're here as a visitor, as a retiree, as a permanent resident. That's all good and well, but our politics are our politics. You as a foreigner have no rights getting involved in the politics here. They don't want you involved in politics here. I've seen cases where people had gotten involved in politics. Now, not on the local end, on the government, even local end. They don't want you involved in the local end either. And they've actually taken these people and blacklisted them out of the Philippines. So we don't want you here no more. We have no use for you here no more. Our business is our business. Stay out of it. So if you're into politics and you want to get into politics here in the Philippines, don't retire to the Philippines. Patience. If you're not a patient person and you're a hothead, do not retire in the Philippines. You need patience here. I myself have learned patience here. You know, I'm a pretty laid back guy, but there were certain times I've gotten a lot better at it where I just have to have patience. You have to have patience. You can stand in line paying a bill for an hour, 2 hours sometimes. When you go to the bank, you can be there for an hour, 2 hours. You have to have patience. Patience is a key here. When driving here, you have to have patience. When dealing with issues here, you have to have patience. And if you're a hothead, do not retire to the Philippines. Filipino people are not confrontational people. You will not, occasionally you will, and only when there's alcohol involved. You won't hear them arguing and screaming and yelling at each other. It's a laid-back society. People laugh, they joke, they have a good time. Even when something is serious, they'll still laugh and they'll still joke and they'll still find a way through it. So if you're a hothead and, you know, like me, if I'm walking through the mall and I'm videoing and the RoboCop in the mall says, hey, you can't video here. And if you're a hothead and you want to yell back, don't tell me what to do, I'm going to do what I want. You're not telling me, yada, yada, yada. Don't move here. Don't move here because eventually you could get in a jam. And what I mean by jam, you could be hauled down to the police. You could be brought up on charges for disrespecting a Filipino in public. There is a law here that says you are not allowed to verbally disrespect a Filipino in public. You can be brought up on a charge here. You could be deported from here. So if you're a hothead, I would advise you not to move to the Philippines. I just would. Like I said, some of these things sound silly to people out there, but this is the truth of what I'm seeing and what I have observed and what other people have told me. Internet, here's another one. Internet. If you require top speed Western internet, don't retire in the Philippines, guys. Don't retire. Here's the thing. You come from the West, you're used to top internet, depending on where you're coming from. Here in the Philippines, the internet is iffy. Matter of fact, today they canceled school because some of the internet connections were out in this area. If you require that, and you know what, I've just learned to kind of deal with it. I've learned to deal with the fact that the internet is not great here. Then I look at how much I pay for it. And there's the old saying, you get what you pay for. Well, here you do. You know, if you're going to come over here and, all right, I'm going to not necessarily retire, but come over, work online, and every day I have to be online. I need top internet speed and everything. Don't come. I'm telling you flat out, don't retire. Don't come here. The internet is very, very iffy. Now, this one might sound silly, but I've seen it. I've seen people go crazy and ballistic over this. Here's another one. Don't retire in the Philippines if you don't like noise, smoke, animals. You might say, Philly, that's a silly reason not to retire here. Well, there are people, and I've seen it, they go ballistic. Here in the Philippines, they burn a lot of trash. They just burn it. Sometimes you get out in the province, they burn it to keep the mosquitoes away. But there was an expat here who got hauled into the police department. Not necessarily here in Angeles, but out in the province. He was so angry because his neighbor was every evening was burning trash. And the smoke was going in his house. And he was yelling and screaming. He went out, he yelled and he screamed at his neighbor, "You need to quit burning that trash and this and that. I can't stand the smoke." Threatened the neighbor, told him, "Hey, if you don't quit burning, I'll make sure that you won't ever burn trash again." The neighbor went down and reported him for making a threat. And this guy got hauled down to the police station, and they did work it out. The expat did back down, apologize and everything like that, but he let that bother him so much that he went out and he confronted the neighbor. Now, you can confront somebody here in a nice civil way, but to go out, once again, the hothead person, don't do it. Don't bother to come here. Like I said, these are some of the things that the hothead person that retires here does. Animals, there's animals here, there's roosters everywhere, guys. Even in the cities, there's roosters. I remember one guy, I heard a story about him, and the roosters were bothering him, and he kept waking up, and he didn't want, and this and that, and he was going on. One out told his neighbor, "Listen, if you don't shut your roosters up, I'm gonna kill them," and this and that. Well, you got to understand one thing here. Roosters mean a lot to these people. They're like family to some of these guys. Some of these guys will feed their rooster before they'll feed their family, and that's the God honest truth. But I've seen expats go literally ballistically crazy and angry because their neighbor's rooster kept them awake. There was another expat here. This guy stayed awake all night. For some reason, he stayed awake, online, whatever. He needed work done on his roof. Well, the roofers show up. They're not going to work at night. They work during the day. He got so angry at his roofers because they were making noise during the day when he wanted to sleep. Come on. But noise. I'm telling you right now, I have seen and heard expats get jammed up because they get so mad about the noise. You can be sitting outside and you might have a guy on a motorbike every day runs up and down the road and exhaust pipes are loud and you get so mad. So you have to accept these things. It's part of having patience here. I'm telling you, if you're a hothead and you can't handle things like that and it bothers you that much, don't retire here to the Philippines. Here's another one. And people might say, "Oh, yes, but I've seen it destroy people here." If you're an alcoholic or if you're a drug addict, do not retire to the Philippines. It's easy to go deeper into the hole as an alcoholic. Alcohol flows free here. You're allowed to drink. It's legal. There's nothing wrong with it. But I've seen expats where it just got them in a hole deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, owing people money, getting in jams. If you're a drug addict, don't even think about retiring here. Is it available here? Sure. But you get caught, you will sit in jail. Man, you will sit in jail, and it won't be a pleasant experience. Here is the number one reason not to retire to the Philippines. If you do not have a steady income, in other words, receiving a pension, receiving something, do not retire in the Philippines. I know there's people out there who might have gotten hurt, and they settled a settlement with the insurance company. Now that big chunk of money, they don't have a retirement. They don't have a steady income until maybe they hit 62, 65, and they can draw Social Security. So they come over here at a young age, and they say, okay, if I budget my money X amount per month for the next 5 or 10 years, I'll be able to then kick in my Social Security, and I'll have that steady income. But when they get over here, they start living above that amount of money that they said they were going to spend. An emergency arises. Something happens. They go, got to get to the hospital. They have to have major surgery. Or even if, say, if you have a serious health issue, and you get that serious health issue while you're here in the Philippines, and you need multiple medications every month, that savings can go down very, very, very quick. So guys, do not retire here in the Philippines if you don't have a steady income. I've seen it. I've seen guys come here and they get married and they might have a child, and then 5 years into their plan, they're almost out of money. And guys, I'm telling you right now, if you think you're going to come over here and get yourself a job and make that money, do not retire in the Philippines. Here in the Philippines, they will hire a Filipino over a foreigner in a heartbeat, especially now, in a heartbeat. They've got these lists here when you apply, standards and what you have to fall under. There is no, what do you call it, quota. There is no, okay, we got to hire X amount of foreigners, we got to hire X amount of Filipinos. There is none of that here. Even here, there's age limits. You got to meet the requirements of age, maybe 21 to 30. You got to be you got to have the pleasant personality. In other words, you got to be good looking. You got to have a degree. So guys, another thing, if you think you're going to come here and get a job, don't retire in the Philippines. There's probably many more reasons, but these are some of the ones that I have noticed, and I've seen people get into jams here. And I've seen people leave here, the Philippines, after they thought, you know what, I'm going to be retiring here, I'm going to stay there, I'm going to live forever. I've seen this happen to people, and I'm just sharing it. But the two ones I say, the two biggest ones I say right now, the reason you would not want to retire in the Philippines, the two of the biggest ones is visit. If you haven't visited, don't do it. If you haven't taken a lot of time to visit here, spent quality time here, not 2 weeks every year, quality time. And the second one is, don't retire to the Philippines if you don't have a steady financial income. Those are the two key ones right there. Other things you can deal with, other things you can work through. But if you run out of money, and if you come here and you don't like it, and you've sold everything you've owned in life to come here, now what? Anyways, figured I'd share these thoughts with you. Let me know what you think. Like I said, these are some of the things that I've noticed, what has destroyed and has made those that came here and retired and then boom, couldn't handle it, went back. Like I said, you make it here 5 years, from what I'm told, if you can make it here 5 years consistently living here, you can make it here. So with that being said, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the sick, the elderly, and the young, and we'll talk to you later.